All right, so one of the most common questions we get asked, anybody that drives one of these things, is how much do they cost to run? How much fuel do they use? So when we did the latest Fraser trip, we documented all the kilometers and how many liters and roughly the cost. Now, unfortunately, the Speedo had a hernia on the way home from Fraser, so the kilometers is going to be a little bit out, but we still can give you a rough idea. So from Westleigh, which is where I live, Hornsby, Thornley, start of the F3, M1 now I think it's called, it's 1,220 kilometers to Inskip Point. So you can calculate that, that's 2,400 kilometers there and back. We probably did the best part of, I would say, 200 to 300 Ks on the actual island. So from here to, when we left here, everything was full, we zeroed it. So it's 462 kilometers to reach Nambucca Heads. So there we put in 117 litres of fuel and it was $270. We averaged 77 kilometers an hour to there, which sounds shithouse, but that was Friday, long weekend traffic up the M1. It took us 2 hours just to get to Beresfield, so it took us 2 hours to do the M1. So I didn't think that was too bad. So then from Nambucca Heads to Brisbane, we used 110 litres. And it was virtually the same, it's 10 kilometres difference, but we used 7 litres less. But we averaged 88 kilometres an hour to get from Nambucca to Brisbane, so a lot better. But it was, you know, very flat. The truck sat at sort of 90, 95 most of the time. Just the hills obviously kill it, which knocks the average down. So then Brisbane to Inskip Point was 63 litres, and that was 260 kilometres, $156. Now, so that basically got us to the start of Fraser Island, or so Inskip Point. So we filled up there, we drove around the island a fair bit, we went inland, back to the west coast, crossed to the east coast, inland, and spent most of our time on the east coast. We did cross over to the west coast once, but we couldn't get anywhere to camp except up north, and it was full of midges, so we didn't stay there. So we did cross the island from east to west, and then we went all the way up the island and back. So at Orchard Beach, we put in 60 litres just to be safe. We probably didn't need to, but we did to be safe. So that was 58 litres, and that cost us $200. It was $3.40 or something a litre. So then when we were about the day before we left, I always carry 2 jerry cans. So I thought, you know what, we'll just throw those in the truck, no big deal. So that was another 40 litres. So if you work that out on Sydney prices, because that's where I filled it up, it's about $88. So then got back to Orchard Beach, filled up again. That was 96 litres. Actually, it wasn't. We didn't fill up at Orchard Beach. We drove, can't remember now. No, we did fill up at, sorry, not Orchard, Rainbow Beach. So we filled up then. That was another 96 litres, cost us $217. Then we hightailed it as far as we could. And where did we stop? We stopped, can't remember. It's going to come to me. Anyway, so we stopped again, filled up, it was another 105 litres, which cost $271. So all the bullshit aside, we used to get from here to Fraser and back 589 litres of fuel, and at the costings was $1,448. So $1,500 of fuel, 600 litres to go from Sydney, Fraser Island, cruise around the island. We were on the island for 7 days. No, 6 days. So I don't think that's too bad. So for those that want to know, that's it. And if you do all the averages, whether we're flogging it, whether we're idling along, whether we're on the beach or whatever, the truck pretty much average 24 litres per 100. So that's what it costs. And I think people with a 4.5 litre 80 or 100 series or a 4.8 litre Patrol are probably going to be chewing the same, if not more, especially if they're going to start towing. So yeah, that is what it cost us to run the Mog to Fraser, enjoy the Fraser for a week and come back home.